Yo, what's up everyone, and welcome to Sade Sports Talk, the Game Changer podcast. If you are new here, make sure you click that subscribe button for me. And if you have been here before and checked out my previous videos, then thank you for your continued support. Make sure you also subscribe too if you haven't. Thank you. So my breaking news of the week, Eden Hazard had announced his retirement today in a social media post. For those of you who don't know Eden Hazard, he is one of my favorite soccer players, and he played for one of my favorite clubs, Chelsea FC, for many years. And I've grown to love him and appreciated everything that he contributed to the club. Some of his stats for Chelsea are 352 appearances, 110 goals, 92 assists, 2-time Premier League champion, 1-time FA Cup winner, 1-time League Cup winner, 2-time UEFA Europa League winner. Then he was the Chelsea Player of the Year in 2014, 2015, 2017, 2019. PFA Players Player of the Year in 2015. Premier League Player of the Season in 2015. And the Belgian Player of the Year in 2017. Eden Hazard, I'm really sad to see you end your career, but what an amazing career you had, especially your years at Chelsea. You made me fall even more in love with the club and became one of my favorite players. Just the way how anytime you stepped on the pitch, like you knew the opposing team was going to have issues stopping you. Thank you so much for all that you contributed to the sport, and I hope you enjoyed this next phase of your life in your career. Again, thank you so much, Eden Hazard, for your magic. So next up, I want to get into my hometown highlights. So first up, the Houston Texans sadly lost 21-19 to the Falcons. But despite the loss, rookie QB C.J. Stroud set an NFL record of 177 pass attempts without an interception. This record was previously held by Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott. C.J. Stroud, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing. You think you really are going to be our quarterback for the future. And, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, tune out the haters and, yeah, just keep, hopefully win us up some football games. Next up, the Houston Astros beat the Minnesota Twins to take a commanding 2-1 series lead in the ALDS. Jose Abreu scored 2 home runs with Alex Bregman and Jordan Alvarez each having 1. Game 4 kicks off tomorrow at 1:07 on Fox Sports 1. Hopefully, the Astros, we close this thing out and get to the next round, which is the ALCS, hopefully World Series and bringing that thing back home. Houston Dynamo beat the Colorado Rapids 5-1 in the season finale home game. Nelson Quinos got in on 2 of the goals, and the Dynamo finally beat the Rapids after failing to beat them in 9 previous meetings. With this home win, the Dynamo have now won 11 home games this season, which is tied for second most in franchise history. Most home wins we got one season was 12. Next up, the Houston Dash versus Angel City. I was currently at this game. I know you guys probably see my little video. This was a really good game. The Dash took the lead right before halftime. And then the second half was all Angel City. They scored 2 back-to-back goals and likely ended the Houston Dash's dreams of playoffs this season. But, there's always next season. These ladies, they really played hard-fought season. They tried to get back to the game, but it unfortunately wasn't enough. So next up, my next segment, winners and whiffs. So I went 3-2-3 this week, which isn't so bad. Seems like I might be making a little progress, getting a little better. So first up, Barcelona versus Granada. So my pick was Barcelona in this game. The match ended up being a 2-2 draw. 16-year-old Lamine Yamal got a goal to bring Barcelona back 2-1. Now this kid is 16 years old and playing for Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in Europe. At 16 years old, I was just like, a sophomore in high school trying to figure out how to get to the next grade. And this kid's out here scoring bangers for Barcelona. Sergio Roberto equalized in 85th minute to make sure Barcelona came at least away a point in this game after trailing for most of the game. Next up, Liverpool versus Brighton. Liverpool was my pick to win this game. The match ended up being like the Barcelona scoreline, a 2-2 draw. Mohamed Salah scored both of the goals for Liverpool. He has now scored 8 goals and provided 6 assists in 13 appearances against Brighton. I'm pretty sure Brighton are now scared of facing him because anytime they see him, he's going to contribute to some of the goals that they score against them. Liverpool sadly were denied all 3 points though in the last few minutes of the game, thanks to a goal scored by Lewis Dunk of Brighton. Next up, Arsenal versus Man City. My pick was to win this game was Man City because of the record that Man City holds over Arsenal, and I thought Arsenal was just gonna play to the moment, like, of the game and not the match itself, and I proved to be wrong. And they won in the last few minutes thanks to a goal scored by Gabriel Martinelli. And yeah, so Man City now lost consecutive back-to-back Premier League games for the first time in who knows how long, because City don't lose back-to-back games like that. And Arsenal get a big 3 points against a team who they finally broke the voodoo against, which is, really good for them. Next up, Bayern versus SC Freiburg. My pick for this game was obviously Bayern, just because it's Bayern and Freiburg are, at the depths of the Bundesliga, and Bayern has all this star power. And sure enough, they won the game pretty comfortably. Kingsley Coman got a brace, and Leroy Sane contributed for one of the other goals. So moving on to my football picks, I had the Bills versus the Jags. My pick in this game was the Bills. They unfortunately lost. And they also lost another big defensive piece in Matt Milano. After a couple weeks ago, they lost their top cornerback, Tre'Davious White, to an Achilles injury. So, hopefully Matt Milano, he's a big part of that Bills defense. So, hopefully, he won't be out for too long. But on the flip side, Jags, Travis Etienne rushed for 136 yards and had 2 big fourth quarter touchdowns. With this, the Jags now won back-to-back games in London and now have a winning record in London. Next up, the Ravens versus the Steelers. My pick in this game was the Ravens because I just didn't think that the Steelers were going to be able to generate any offense, and I turned out to be wrong. A lot of self-inflicted wound by the Ravens. This game could have been very differently. The Lamar Jackson's wide receivers dropped a lot of good passes, and 2 of them could have been for a potential touchdown. And yeah, and then turnovers. They had some really poor turnovers. And then in the second half, they only generated 91 yards of offense and allowed 4 sacks. So the Steelers won this game. They scored 14 unanswered points in the second half. And then the game-winning play was a 40-yard pass from Kenny Pickett to George Pickens. I didn't picture that game to go that way, but it did. So, yeah, there's that. So next up, I have the Broncos versus the Jets. This game was definitely circled on my calendar after everything that happened in the offseason. To give another little backstory, Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator for the Jets, was the head coach last season for the Broncos, where they went 4-11, and he was ultimately fired. And in the summer, Sean Payton said that when he got there, that it was the worst coaching job that he had ever seen. So, of course, everyone was all hyping up this game. And the Jets won, which was great. Breece Hall came up big in the run game with 177 yards and 1 touchdown. But the defense really won this game. The winning play that the defense got for us was Bryce Hall scoring a 39-yard fumble recovery to ice the game. Yeah, I'm really happy the Jets won here. Hopefully, we can continue making strides and try to keep this thing afloat this season. Then lastly, the 49ers versus the Cowboys. My pick here was the 49ers because I knew that Dallas wasn't going to be able to generate as many points on offense that they hoped, because Dak Prescott is not a quarterback who can play when trying to come from behind. He's a quarterback where he's a game manager. He wants the defense to do all the work, and then, he only has to do, minimalistic things. But when you're playing a good team like the 49ers, you you have to be spectacular. Like, you have to show why the Cowboys are paying you all that money, and he didn't show up. He had 3 interceptions, though, which, that's never good. But on the 49ers side, 32-point blowout. George Kittle got him 3 touchdowns. And then Brock Purdy, 252 yards, 4 touchdowns. And now is 10-0 in the regular season. And then Christian McCaffrey, made another bit of history, scored a touchdown in his 14th straight game. Yeah, go Niners. So moving on to some more football, but with the kids, some college football updates. So Colorado beat Arizona State 27-24 thanks to a walk-off field goal scored by kicker Alejandro Mata. This win now ends Colorado's 8-game Pac-12 losing streak. Great for Colorado because, as we all have heard, Colorado was horrible last year. And now this year they're way better. But despite being sacked 5 times, Colorado QB Shedeur Sanders went Brady mode in the 4th quarter with a 43-yard pass to set up the game-winning field goal. Shedeur, you can always count on him to go clutch mode whenever you need him to. And he's definitely someone who I would love to have on my team whenever my team is down to just, ice the game. So Colorado now moves to 4-2 and faces Stanford on Friday. So next up, number 12 Oklahoma versus number 3 Texas. This game was a lot of back and forth. I thought Texas was gonna win here, but Sooners quarterback Dylan Gabriel threw the game-winning touchdown to claim the victory in the Red River rivalry, handing Texas their first loss of the season. Turnovers is what cost Texas this game. Quarterback Quinn Ewers threw 2 interceptions and had a fumble. I seen this all over social media. Oklahoma was, a lot of people are saying Oklahoma hasn't beaten anybody yet and this and that. So for them to be number 3 Texas is big for them, and they were clearly happy and excited with their post-game celebrations. Oklahoma now remains a perfect 6-0 with both teams now having an upcoming bye week. Next up, number 2 Michigan versus Minnesota. Michigan routed Minnesota 52-10 to remain undefeated and go 6-0. QB J.J. McCarthy had a career high of 2 rushing touchdowns, while Michigan's defense had 2 pick sixes in a game for the first time since 2017. This means now that Michigan has stretched their conference winning streak to 17 games for the second longest in program history. They host Indiana on Saturday while Minnesota goes to Iowa. Michigan, I could definitely see them in the national championship for sure. They have a stacked team from head to toe. Jim Harbaugh, amazing coach. Then lastly, number 9 USC versus Arizona. Caleb Williams. Man, oh man. Caleb Williams. That kid is talented. Now, I knew he could throw the ball and, score some touchdowns. But in this specific game, he ran for 3 touchdowns and had 1 passing touchdown. I didn't know he was good with his feet. So this kid is a very much well-around all quarterback. He led the team in triple overtime, and USC are now unbeaten at home in Lincoln Riley's tenure. The thing about this is, though, the fact that this game had to go to triple overtime, USC's defense has a lot of questions that need to be answered. They don't have a very good defense, I think, to carry them potentially to the national championship. I think eventually they'll get exposed by one of the big powerhouse teams. But they got the win here and moved to 6-0 and face Notre Dame on Saturday, while Arizona falls to 3-3 and faces Washington State on Saturday as well. So my women's soccer recap of some of the games that happened over this weekend. Portland Thorns versus Gotham FC. Portland beat Gotham FC 1-0 thanks to Hina Sunjita. This win now means Portland have secured a first-round bye in the playoffs and will host a semifinal game. Gotham FC now need a win on the final day to secure a playoff spot. Next up, North Carolina Courage versus San Diego Wave FC. This match ended up being a 0-0 draw, and the point was just enough for San Diego, to secure a first round bye and get their chance to get a semifinal game to host a semifinal game for the first time in their history. And the NWSL Championship will also be in San Diego this year. So San Diego will probably try to, play at their home stadium, for the championship. The Courage moved to third. The Courage moved to third, and 3 points on deadline day will be crucial for them to make the playoffs. Next up, Kansas City Current versus Chicago Red Stars. This game was a goal fest, with the scoreline being 6-3 and Kansas City coming away with the win. I mean, this game was just a game of pride, like whoever, wanted to finish off their season on a high. Both of these teams are pretty much out of the playoff contention, but what a very, big win for Kansas, winning by 6-3. Lastly, Chelsea women versus Man City women. Man City finished this game with only 9 players, with Alex Greenwood and Lauren Hemp both getting red cards and being sent off. This match ended up being a 1-1 draw. Man City opened the scoring in the 7th minute thanks to Chloe Kelly, and it took Chelsea the 9 minutes of the game to finally equalize in the 96th minute, which is crazy because Man City was playing with 10 women for most of the game, and then they got another player sent off. So Chelsea really should have came away with all 3 points here, but a point is better than nothing. Next up, men's soccer recap for games of the weekend. Atletico de Madrid versus Real Sociedad. Madrid won 2-1 thanks to an 89th minute penalty scored by Antoine Griezmann. Madrid have now beaten Real Sociedad in 8 straight games, and Madrid remain in 4th while Sociedad drops to 6th. Madrid traveled to Celta de Vigo while Sociedad hosts Mallorca after the international break. Inter Miami versus FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati got the revenge on Inter Miami in this game after their U.S. Open Cup semifinal loss. Messi made his return to the pitch as a second half substitute, but he wasn't able to have any effect on the game, and FC Cincinnati won this game, which they got double revenge on them actually, because then they also knocked Inter Miami out of the playoffs. And yeah, but this was all Inter Miami's doing because they had the previous 3 games to get all 3 points, and they dropped those crucial points. So no playoffs for Miami, but at least Messi brought y'all a championship, which is good. Next up, PSG versus Reims. PSG beat Reims 3-1 after Reims got the double over them last season. This was a great win for PSG after, they were humiliated midweek by Newcastle in the Champions League. After the international break, PSG hosts Strasbourg while Reims travel to Lorient. Lastly, Milan versus Genoa. Milan get a narrow 1-0 win thanks to Christian Pulisic staying hot with getting his 4th goal of the season. But the player of the game was Olivier Giroud, who's a striker, but had to substitute as goalkeeper when Milan's goalkeeper Mike Manigan got sent off for a red card. Giroud came up with a huge save to make sure Milan came away with all 3 points. Milan now sit in first place and have a big next game in Serie A against Juventus coming up after the international break. So my game changer must-see matchups and picks for this week. So since there's no club football this week, since all the players are on international duty, there's a competition called Euros, which is where all the big countries all the top countries in Europe, all the countries in Europe are put into different groups. And I believe the top 2 qualify for this competition called the Euros, where all those teams face each other to be crowned the top nation in Europe. This competition is next summer, so they have to do some qualifying rounds before they be able to participate in the tournament. So my first pick is Croatia versus Turkey. In a Group D battle between first and second, Croatia will be looking to get their 4th straight win in the group, while Turkey will be looking to get all 3 points after drawing against Armenia in their last game of this competition. The last time these two met, in March, Croatia beat Turkey 2-0 thanks to a brace by Mateo Kovacic. My pick is going to be Croatia just because of the experienced players that they have. I think they have the better team. They've been to the late rounds of the World Cup in the previous editions, and I think they'll be able to come away with all 3 points here and remain at the top of the group. Next up, Spain versus Scotland. Spain are currently on a 4-game winning streak while Scotland have won 3 of their last 4. Scotland are on top of the group with a perfect 15 points, with them going undefeated in the group, while Spain are second with 9 points. Last time they met in the group, Scotland won 2-0 thanks to a brace by Scott McTominay. My pick was Spain here at first, but I'm going to ride with Scotland just because they're undefeated in the group and they beat Spain before, so I think they have Spain's number. And Spain hasn't been the same of years before. It's, I don't know, it's like the DNA of the team has changed and they just don't have the same, like, scary factor like they did back in, like, in the early 2000s. So, some more picks that I have is CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying. So what this is like the Euros, but this is for the South American teams to qualify for the next edition of the World Cup, which is in 2026. So all the South American teams face each other in the top, I believe it's 6, go to the World Cup to represent the South American continent. So first up, I have Colombia versus Uruguay. Colombia missed the past World Cup in 2022 and will be hoping to make it in 2026. They have picked up only 2 points so far in World Cup qualifying and will be hoping for Luis Diaz of Liverpool to lead the front line. Uruguay, on the other hand, will be looking to get back to the World Cup after, unfortunately and sadly, being eliminated in the group stage. My pick for this game is Uruguay just because I think they have more star players like Darwin Núñez, Federico Valverde, Manuel Ugarte. I just think that Uruguay just has the better team and the better players. Next up, Argentina versus Paraguay. Current world champs, Argentina have so far been perfect in World Cup qualifying and will be looking to go 3-3, while Paraguay will be looking to get back into the World Cup after missing the previous 2 editions in 2018 and 2022. My pick for this game is Argentina because anytime you have Lionel Messi in your team, you're bound to win the game. He can change the game in an instant, and just you have to keep eyes on him all the time. And yeah, you really have to pull out all stops to be able to stop him. But even if you surround him with 5 players, you still probably won't be able to stop him. Next up, Brazil versus Venezuela. Another team that's perfect in World Cup qualifying are the Samba Kings, Brazil. They are always the favorites to qualify and win the World Cup because they have won a record of 5 of them. They haven't won the World Cup, though, since 2002. Even in 2014, they lost in disappointing fashion to Germany in the semifinals, which we all know about that game. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still a little hurt. But, yeah, I mean, they face Venezuela, who have never qualified for a World Cup, and will hopefully be able to make it 2026. So this game should really be light work for Brazil, so I'm riding with Brazil on this one. Lastly, my pick in this one is for the NFL World. The Chiefs versus the Broncos. In the AFC West showdown, the Chiefs will be looking to go 5-1, while the Broncos will be looking to bounce back after a disappointing loss to the Jets. Broncos defense just allowing anybody to score all willy-nilly. And Patrick Mahomes, I feel like, is going to have a field day with his Broncos defense in the game as an Arrowhead. For all you Swifties, I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift might be at this game because she hasn't been at the previous 2 because she hasn't been all on my feed. Yeah, I think this is going to be an easy win for the Chiefs, so I'm riding with them. This game kicks off at 7:15 tomorrow on Prime. I'm sorry. This game kicks off at 7:15 Thursday on Prime Video. Alrighty, guys. That's all I have for you today. Make sure you guys check back Friday. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for all your continued support. And, I want to give a special shout out to my wife, who is my behind the scenes woman, who handles everything, for everything podcasting, like everything. yeah, so this podcast wouldn't be what it was without my wife. But again, and also without you guys. But thank you guys so much for your support. All right, and tune in Friday for my picks for the weekend. And yeah, some games you could probably check out. Alrighty, guys. Thank you.